The end of the programme. It's last orders tonight for a London pub and a performance venue which has helped to launch the careers of some pretty well-known names, I have to say. You may not know this. People like Hugh Grant, Joanna Lumley and Richard E. Grant.
I think Victoria Wood as well, in fact. We're talking about the King's Head. It was established in 1970 and is thought to be one of the oldest pub theatres in England. Let's take a look back, shall we, at its history.
For over 50 years, pubgoers and theatre lovers have been flocking to the King's Head. It's one of London's oldest and most celebrated pub theatres and has helped launch the careers of some of Britain's biggest actors, including Richard E. Grant, Victoria Wood and Hugh Grant, pictured here, treading the boards in 1985. The concept of pub theatre is nothing new. In Shakespearean times, it would have been the norm. But determined to revive the tradition, Dan Crawford and his wife Stephanie opened up a small theatre space in a back room behind the bar in the 1970s.
Hi, are you looking for an unforgettable experience?
Today it plays host to everything from musicals to opera, drag to comedy, and several of its productions have even made it to the West End. A goodbye gala takes place tonight on this very stage. But it's not the final curtain call for the theatre, as it will be moving to a bigger venue very soon.
Well, we can speak now to an avid audience member turned creative director, David Cumming, you can see him there, and Sophie Barringer, who is currently the senior producer at the King's Head. Good morning to you both. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning.
Firstly, good morning to you. Firstly, why the move? Why is it moving?
Look, well, I think the reality is that it's presented an incredible opportunity for us to move to double the seating capacity at 200 seats, and we'll have a second 50-seat cabaret venue and be able to operate our own bars again. So ultimately, the scale of work that we're able to put on and the sustainable ecology that we can give back to our artists and to the public and the type of work that we put on will change significantly by moving. So there's a lot of opportunity, but of course, it's bittersweet to be saying goodbye to the oldest pub theatre in the UK.
But, David, I'm just listening to that and thinking a 200-seat capacity, that ain't a pub, is it? I mean, it's very, very different to the culture and the kind of atmosphere that you would get from a pub theatre. So my question to you is, what can a pub theatre do that a traditional venue cannot?
So I think the amazing history of this space is that it allows artists to come and try out new work, to succeed, but also, quite importantly, fail, to work out how their work is going and which direction to take it in front of a very supportive audience. For instance, my company, our new musical, Operation Mincemeat, is currently on at the Fortune Theatre in the West End, but we created that show at many different fringe venues across London, and it is the King's Head Theatre Pub who began that tradition in the 1970s. So small kind of crucible spaces are really important for artists to learn their craft so they can then take on the risk of a larger space. So that's what we're losing in losing this smaller space, but as Sophie said, moving to a larger space around the corner does allow for a new kind of opportunities for their artists to take on bigger work and bigger spaces.
So you're not worried, Sophie, that you're going to lose the essence of what it's all about? Just give us an idea about some of the stars, we mentioned a few of them, who've trod the boards there.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I don't think that we'll lose any of the essence. As I said, with a 50-seat cabaret venue, actually what we're creating is more pathways for those artists to grow with us. So you'll get Hugh Grant in his very first production doing, well, actually Hugh Grant's very first production with us was a sketch comedy show. So we can still have the Hugh Grants doing a small sketch comedy show in our new 50-seat cabaret venue, and then work with us and build up to the 200-seat space and the bigger capacity, and just follow that journey through. So that's really the aim.
It'd be great if you could get Hugh Grant in the new theatre, wouldn't it? I'm sure you'd be, quite
absolutely
happy to have him listening.
Yes, please come. He drinks in the pub here regularly. There you go.
Ah, there you go. Well, everyone's going to be down the pub now. One thing, David, that it has been very important for is LGBTQ plus performances. Will that continue?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So the venue at the moment is in its kind of third incarnation, and it is a very proud LGBTQ+ venue that supports brand new work from both cabaret and theatre makers and opera and many different art forms, all by LGBTQ artists. And the aim going forward is that it's very much going to remain. As Sophie said, we've got the cabaret space, which is a dedicated space for smaller performances by drag artists and cabaret artists, but then also there will be a pathway of how to kind of enlarge that work and take it to the larger space itself. So it will be a kind of a track for queer artists to explore their work and make it grow and bring it to a wider audience.
David, this is, I guess, a question for you. Are there still places, do you think, in British theatre for the future, Victoria Woods, Hugh Grants, Tom Stoppards, to hone their craft, to really make mistakes still and be seen and actually keep continuing on with their career path? Because the venues do seem to be getting bigger and bigger. Performances, budgets get bigger and bigger. And my understanding is that it does get harder for people working in theatre.
Yes, you're not wrong there at all. There has been a worrying amount of closures of smaller spaces due to funding, well, lack of funding, really. But there are still a few in London. There are, some great fringe theatres, New Diorama to name one, that are really championing new work, but also King's Head will be continuing to do that. But it is, you're not wrong, it is a problem, and without those spaces, the next great artists of our theatre world won't have a chance to learn their craft. Theatre is very much an ecology, and you need the kind of biodiversity of the big shows at the top and the smaller shows at the bottom as artists learn how to grow and learn their craft and learn how to tackle something much bigger. Not that bigger is always better, but that pathway needs to exist, otherwise you'll kind of end up with a lack of artists who are able to take on those risks.
Not to mention pathways into film and television as well. Yeah. Theatre's always been the talent feeder into Hollywood and Britain being able to really perform on the world stage in terms of entertainment talent.
As Hugh Grant has
support your local theatre.
As Hugh has proven so well. I'm sure you'll have a great night tonight. David, Sophie, thank you very much. Put a pint in the pump for Hugh and tell him he's welcome on the programme anytime. Thank you.
We will do. Thank you so much.
Take care.
I'll even pull the pint for him. There you go. That's all from us.